Hey friends, it's Kylie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over the books I've read in the past month. I will be giving you a brief overview of each, what I rate them, and my thoughts. I will do my best to have no spoilers in this video, so if you want to read any of these, I won't be ruining it for you. Two of these books definitely took a little longer than a month to read. I had slowed down quite a bit on my reading, so probably about a month and a half, which definitely affects my thoughts on the books when I stretch them out that long. I don't think when I read a book I take to them as well when I take so long to read them. The book I'm going to start off with is The War Girls by V.S. Alexander. This was a book from my Once Upon a Book Club box. I gave this 3 stars. It follows a family in the midst of World War II who lives in Poland. They are Jewish. The family is 2 sisters, a brother, a mom, and a dad. One of the sisters actually lives in England. She's been basically shunned by her family because she chose not to live the way her family lives. She does not want to be married off to somebody that she doesn't love. And there's a lot more to that as well. So it follows the entire family, but the 3 main characters I would say are the 2 sisters, and then the other one is a woman who also lives in Poland, but she is not Jewish. So it follows the hardships, and it starts from like the beginning of the war all the way up until the end of the war. So all of the stuff that they have to go through, and it is an absolutely heartbreaking book just because so much of this is based off of things that actually happened in places that are real or were real, and just so much of it is it's just so heart-wrenching because you know this isn't fake. These characters themselves are fake, but this truly happened. So this one I did heavily annotate in the beginning, and then I stopped just because I didn't have my stuff with me because I would take this in the car and everything. So I went and highlighted things that were uplifting in times of hardship and like their outlook of things that could be good, and then I highlighted things that were just absolutely gut-wrenchingly sad. So I do think the story itself was pretty good, and I do love learning about World War II and books about World War II. I just find it very fascinating, and again, it's sad and it's just, there's a lot of emotion to it, so I do love reading about that kind of stuff. However, I hated the writing style of this author. It was so hard for me to get through this, and that's why I have 3-star rating, because I did not like the way this author wrote at all, but I did like the story itself. This book is read in 3rd person, which is fine with me. I don't mind books like that. That's not the issue. What the issue is when reading, this whole paragraph will be from a point of view of one person or him discussing one person's point of view, and then this paragraph here, it just instantly flips to another person. So you're in the middle of something heavy with this other character, and then all of a sudden in the next paragraph it jumps into somebody else, so my mind is still in that previous person and what they're going through. And then I would read like 5 sentences down and then all of a sudden get so confused. And then they would finally mention a name of who they were referring to, and it was a totally different character. So you're jumping from character to character with no heads up, basically. I guess I'm used to like breaking that up by chapters rather than paragraphs where it, like I said, it just gives no warning. So I would get so confused. I would be 5 to 10 sentences in before I would be like, what in the world is going on? And I'd have to reread it because then I would finally figure out, oh, we're following this person now. It was so confusing. I hated that. I thought the further I read, the more I would get used to it, but I still didn't. I didn't like that. The other thing I didn't care about in this book is the ending was good, but I felt like some of the characters just dropped off. He ended some of the characters' point of views, and then they were caught up. How do I explain this without ruining it? It told what some of the characters were doing, and then it just ended, and you never knew what was going to happen with them. Well, then somebody else picks it up and it was like, oh, this happened to those people. But it's like, Why did you give them that, though? You could have done that through their eyes rather than having these people basically tell you in the book. I just didn't like how it ended. It didn't give a very, I don't know how to explain it. There could have been more done with it. So again, the story itself was good. The writing style, I did not like. 3 stars for this book. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I'm glad I read it. That's that. The next book is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This came very highly recommended from like Book Talk, BookTube, people in general. Riley Sager is apparently a very good thriller author, and I had very high hopes for this book. And I think because of that, it wasn't as good for me. I gave it, I think, probably a 3.5 is what I'll give it. Maybe a 4 on a good day, but a 3.5. In this book, you are following a character, Jules, who is basically living on her friend's couch right now. Her and her boyfriend had just broken up. He was cheating on her, sad stuff. And she's looking for a new job because she's also between jobs. She finds this thing in the newspaper looking for apartment sitters, and she goes to interview for the job. She gets it. It's at this hotel called the Bartholomew, which is a very ritzy hotel in New York City. Only the richest of rich people live there, actors, doctors, like high-end people. And she just thinks this is a dream come true because she's getting paid like $5,000 a month or something crazy. And she's just so excited. She also has always looked up to the Bartholomew because in one of her and her sister's favorite books, the Bartholomew is referenced in it. And so she's already got this, she's just in love with this Bartholomew. So she's very excited. She takes the job. And then some weird stuff starts happening. That's all I'm gonna say about it because I don't want to give anything away. It is I think it's a good story. My thing was, it was predictable. I don't like being able to predict the endings of a book. I like to be kept in suspense. And I think for a lot of people, it won't be predictable because the things in here that made it predictable for me are little things that not everybody is going to pick up on. So it does it in a very good way. I just happened to pick up on things and like, this is what's going to happen. I also didn't find it to be as thrilling as everybody had made it out to be. I wasn't ever on the edge of my seat and spooked and whatever. It just didn't give me that page turning vibe of, oh, I need to know what happens next, and oh, I'm so thrilled and spooked, and it didn't give me that at all. The other thing I didn't like is there's so many bad decisions on the character's part, Jules, the main character, that I was just like, why would you do that? Didn't make sense to me, especially knowing the character. She was built better than that in the book, and then made these very stupid decisions, which obviously made the book be the way it is and ended the way it is and was the way it was. But I feel like that also could have been done without making the character make such bad decisions, because that just kind of drove me nuts. However, let's see, I'm reading off of my book journal, so I make sure I say what I want to say. It did do a good job at building the character in a way that makes sense of why she does do a lot of the things that she does. Her past, what has happened to her in the past and her family in the past, and things that have built up. It does a good job at explaining that and makes her character be understandable. Like, you know why she's making the decisions that she's making, other than those decisions that I didn't agree with. I know for the most part it was very good. It was a good ending. It was nice to follow along with. It just wasn't worth the hype to me. I think if I had gone into the book with not knowing as much hype, then I would have been fine. So that's that for me. And the last book that I have read this month, this is The Many Daughters of Afong by Jamie Ford. This is another one of my books that I received in my Once Upon a Book Club box. This was a surprisingly really good book. I don't have the dust cover on it at the moment. This I gave a 3.5, a possible 4. I only gave it a little bit lower of a rating because I was a bit confused towards the end. And it could be a little bit hard to follow at sometimes because there are so many characters in here, but it was pretty easy to catch up on, especially if you're reading this like all the way through and not setting it down for a couple days. You know, continuously reading it does definitely help. The main characters in this book, I would say, are Dorothy and her daughter Annabelle. This book is all about reincarnation and how your family's past can affect you and the things that happen in your life. I know, it's really good. So you have Afong, who, you know, that's in the title. Afong is the first of where this all starts in the family's issues. Afong is from China in 1836. She was to be married off to somebody. I won't say too much. She was to be married off to somebody. Things happen. She ends up in America. Her feet were bound in China because that was a really big thing back then. So she basically became a sideshow act in America when she got there, had a horrible time. And from there, her descendants were Lai King, Zoe, Faye, Greta, Dorothy, then Annabelle. So it bounces back and forth each chapter from a different character. It does not go in order. It just bounces around and shows the hardships that they went through and what happened to them. A lot of them are really sad, and it's like such a simple thing that had that not happened, everything would have turned out for the better. And Dorothy is the one that has noticed all of this. She does not want her daughter Annabelle to have to go through everything that her family's gone through and have all the hardships that everybody else had. She wants to end the cycle for her daughter. So the book goes through all that. So it was very good, and it was very good to learn about, you know, everybody's past and whatnot. I was just confused about exactly how Dorothy was able to do it. It was very not clear. It was not touched on very well. So I did not like that. The ending to me was just weird. So anyways, it's a good book. I'm not rating it as high though because of the confusion in there for me. I don't understand how what happened. But it was a very good book though, still good story. That is that. And those are the 3 books that I've read this month. I do suggest checking them out. Just because I don't rate them super highly doesn't mean that you won't love them. And it's always good to keep a good variety in your collection. Anyways, that is it for today's video. If you have any book suggestions or any other video suggestions, whatever, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this video and your thoughts on these books themselves if you read them. I love to get different point of views on them. So that is it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.